I was slumped on the couch, flipping through channels, searching for anything to distract me from another lonely evening, when the front door burst open. In that instant, my entire world tilted on its axis. Camila, my wife of more than 20 years, strode in with her usual air of ownership, because, if I was being honest, she had always owned the space. But this time, she wasn't alone. A man walked in beside her, his slick back hair and self-satisfied smirk making my stomach churn. He had that smug aura of someone who had already won, though I had no idea what game we were even playing. And then there was a little girl, no more than 5. She clung to Camila's hand, her wide, uncertain eyes scanning the room like she had landed in unfamiliar territory. My hand froze mid-motion over the remote, the TV humming softly in the background. Camila didn't look at me right away. Instead, she strode past me, dropped her bag on the counter, and finally turned. Her gaze was hard, unyielding, something I had never seen from her before. Sign these divorce papers and leave. Her voice was devoid of emotion, as if she were instructing me to take out the trash. It wasn't a request. It wasn't even an argument. It was a command, a final decision she had already made. My brain struggled to catch up, my heart hammering against my ribs. Divorce? Leave? Now, what the hell was happening? Beside me, Julian, our 16-year-old son, sat rigid on the couch. A moment ago, he'd been staring at his phone, probably lost in some video or conversation, but now the screen was dark. His fingers gripped the device like a lifeline, his jaw clenched, his anger radiating from him in thick, silent waves. That was how Julian was. He didn't need to speak for you to feel what he was thinking. I opened my mouth, desperate to say something, but the words stuck in my throat like stones. Camila didn't wait for me to find them. She reached into her purse, pulled out a stack of papers, and slammed them onto the coffee table. The slap of paper against it echoed through the room. "This is done," she said, arms crossed. "We're done." The man, Trent, I would later learn, stood behind her, looking thoroughly amused, like he was enjoying the scene. The little girl, Ava, stayed silent, clutching Camila's hand and watching me with cautious curiosity. I stared at the papers, the words blurring together. 18 years of marriage, a house we built together, a son we raised, 1,000 little fights we had survived, and now she was acting like none of it mattered, like I didn't matter. I clenched the remote tighter in my hand, my knuckles whitening. "Camila," I finally croaked, my voice rough. "Who are these people? What is this?" She shrugged, her expression ice cold. "This is my life now," she said simply, gesturing toward Trent and Ava as though they were prizes she had rightfully claimed. "You've been sitting here doing nothing while I've been building something real. Sign the papers, pack your things, and leave." Nothing. That was what she thought of me. Of all the nights I waited up for her, of all the sacrifices I had made to keep our home and our son's life steady, while she was off chasing something else. Now she was rewriting our history, casting me as a useless one, the dead weight she had finally decided to cut loose. I glanced at Julian, hoping for some kind of support. He didn't speak, but the look he gave his mother was sharp, calculating. He was hurting just like I was, but he wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing it, and neither was I. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees, trying to control my breathing. My voice was quiet but firm. "You can't just walk in here and tell me to leave," I said. "This is my home, too." Camila let out a sharp, bitter laugh that made my skin crawl. "Your home," she scoffed. "You have no job, no money, no future. You're lucky I didn't do this sooner." She thought she had me cornered, defeated, ready to disappear without a fight. Trent smirked, and something inside me burned at the sight of it. I wanted to wipe that expression off his face with my fist. But not yet. Not like this. But I didn't move. I just sat there, letting her words ricochet inside my mind, trying to understand how the woman I had loved for half my life had become a stranger standing before me. The little girl tugged on Camila's hand, whispering something I couldn't make out. Camila bent down, murmured a response, then straightened up, brushing the child off like an afterthought. That was the moment I truly saw Ava, dark hair, round face. She didn't look like Julian, didn't look like me, But there was Camila's nose, maybe even her chin. My stomach churned. How long had this been happening? How long had my wife been living a double life, while I played the beautiful husband, the devoted father, believing we were still a family? A sickening dizziness washed over me as the puzzle pieces began falling into place. Trent wasn't just some new guy. Ava wasn't just a random child Camila had taken in. This was orchestrated. This was her exit strategy. And I was the dead weight she was cutting loose. Dad. Julian's voice sliced through the haze in my head. I turned to him, and he nodded just once, a silent message. Stay steady. He didn't spare a glance at his mother, nor at Trent or the girl. His focus was solely on me, unwavering. That was all it took to ground me, to stop me from unraveling right there in front of them. I inhaled deeply, exhaling slowly before meeting Camila's gaze. I'm not signing anything tonight, I said, my voice steadier than before. You don't get to walk in here and destroy everything without a fight. Her eyes flickered with irritation. She hadn't expected resistance. Trent shifted, his smirk dimming. Julian remained motionless beside me, waiting. One thing was certain. This wasn't over. Not even close. A slow, almost amused smile tugged at my lips, because for the first time since she walked in, I felt steady. You can try, I said, holding her stare, but my name is on the deed, not yours. Her expression faltered. The confidence she'd walked in was beginning to fracture. I could see the gears turning in her mind, scrambling to regain control. Julian leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees, not speaking, just existing beside me, unshakable. She hadn't expected that. She had banked on me standing alone. Her plan was unraveling, and she knew it. I still held my phone, the screen displaying the deed she had likely assumed I'd overlook. Camila's once assured stance wavered as she struggled to hold on to the authority she had so effortlessly wielded before. But now, her carefully laid plans had cracks, and she was searching for an escape route that no longer existed. This changes nothing, she snapped, though the slight tremor in her voice said otherwise. Trent, standing rigid behind her, crossed his arms, looking less smug by the second, like a man realizing he had backed the wrong contender. Ava clung to Camila's leg, her small face scrunching up, sensing the shift in the room. Julian remained still, watching everything unfold, absorbing it all in silence. For years, I had let Camila's lies accumulate, had swallowed the deceptions, had stayed quiet. But now it was my turn. That's fine, Camila said, forcing her voice into something resembling composure. We'll go to court. You still owe me alimony for wasting my youth. She tossed her hair over her shoulder, reaching for the poise that had slipped from her grasp. Wasting her youth. The words nearly made me laugh, but the sound caught in my throat, bitter. So that was her angle. Turning herself into the victim, making me the villain for staying, for holding the family together while she pursued her dreams. I set my phone down on the coffee table, slow and deliberate, letting the weight of her accusation settle. Your youth. I echoed, my voice even. I raised Julian while you were gone. I kept this house together. I paid the bills when your career didn't. You don't get to call that wasting anything. Her eyes darkened with frustration, angry that I wasn't crumbling like she had predicted. You had it easy, she spat. Sitting here, playing house while I worked my ass off. You owe me for that. I thought of all the nights Julian cried himself to sleep because she hadn't called. The times I stretched every last dollar to keep the heat on because her vacations drained our budget. The years I put my life on pause so she could chase something she claimed was for us. I didn't say any of that. Not yet. Instead, I just watched her, letting her drown in her own falsehoods. What she didn't realize was that I had been keeping track. Not out of resentment, but out of necessity. I had saved everything. Every receipt, every bank statement, every unfulfilled promise in a text message. Back then, I wasn't planning revenge. I was just trying to survive. But now it was evidence. I reached beneath the couch, my fingers brushing against a file folder I had placed her earlier that week. I had been sorting through old paperwork, trying to make sense of our finances, when I uncovered more than I had ever expected. And now I was